night rest. I want to say again, congratulations. You're welcome. We are living. This is 2025, and we are living in very strange times. All kinds of things are taking place, and we begin to ask questions: what is really going on? Most of the things that we are saying now were things that were never in place many years ago, many years ago. But now we find ourselves in a terrible situations. And so we try to look at what actually is the cause. Why does it look as if there's something wrong with humanity? Why are we taking the steps we are taking? Why are we involved in taking some decisions that when you hear about it, you get worried? For example, look at what happened in the US, where a military veteran who just picked up his car and drove in and killed over 15 people in New Orleans and 35 seriously injured. So I tried to make research to find out what could be wrong. This guy has been married twice. He has about 2 kids or so. He's divorced and the rest. So what could have made him do such a thing? Although he also said that he has sympathy for ISIS. We've been discussing a lot about this issue of this Islamic terrorists and this radical Islam that must be taken care of, that must be checked, because it's going to destroy the world. It's going to put the world in crisis. It's going to make the world uncomfortable if we continue to tolerate this Islamic terrorists, this radical Islamism. It's not something that any nation should be able to overlook. It's becoming obvious that these issues must be tackled seriously. There must be a global front in tackling these Islamic fundamentalists. I mean, Islam is not the only religion in the world. We have other religions, and I begin to wonder if other religions are beginning to take the kind of steps that Islam is taking. Then how would the world look like? How are we going to see the world? So this is something that has to be checked. It's something that has to be observed. It's something that must begin to. We believe so much that it creates a bedrock for evil. It gives people the legitimate right to carry out what is actually on their mind. So they have a way of settling down for a religion that makes it possible for them to kill. And I think that's one of the reasons why we seem to be having a high interest rate in Islamic activities, because it seems to be the only religion that gives leeway for people to carry out evil decisions, evil attack, like what happened. Imagine on New Year's Day, about 14 people, including Jabal himself, were killed by terrorists. We saw young boys, young girls, 18 years, 25 years, that were slaughtered by this demonic man who was being brainwashed by ISIS, which is an Islamic organization. We see it as extreme Islamic organization, but it's not. Where does the extremity come from? It came from the fact that it is satanic. It has nothing to do with God. Just like we said before, when you have a religion that gives you that provides a cover for you to involve yourself in killing of people, of innocent people. It gives you the opportunity, the leverage to kill. It's an avenue. For example, you can't see there's no such avenue in other religion. There's no avenue to kill. We have a lot of religion. We have Buddhism, we have this, we have Christianity, we have this. If you check out this religion, there's none of them that gives you opportunity or avenue to kill. Unlike this extreme Islamic fundamentalists. Extreme. They give you opportunity to kill under the name of jihad. So the people use the name of jihad to carry out attack on people, kill people, and do terrible things. There's nowhere in the world where murder is tolerated. Murder is terrible. Murder to commit murder is evil. It's destructive. It's satanic. So murder cannot be accepted under the guise of religion. People cannot accept murder in the name of jihad. You don't just begin to kill people or take killing as a profession and label it as jihad or label it that you commit blasphemy, so they will be killed. This is not the first time. We had the same situation in Sokoto, in Nigeria, some years ago, about 2 years ago or so, where a student, a young girl, very, very young girl, was burnt to death by this same Islamic fundamentalist who said she committed blasphemy and so she must be killed, and she was burnt. This is a civilized world where you have to, the issues to be handled with care. If somebody commits an offense, you take the person to the court. And if the court feels that the offense that he committed, if the court feels an offense has been committed, then she can be punished through a legal means. But it's very barbaric for you to take laws into your hand in the name of trying to fulfill the agenda of a religion. So if every other religious group decides to take the laws into their hand, then we are going to live in an animal republic. We are going to live in a satanic republic. Every day you'll be seeing dead bodies on the streets because a particular religion feels that you've infringed on their own right, and so they must kill. These things should be discouraged. But today we want to look at marriage, the effect of this, the effect of wrong marriage. Like in the case of this Jabal in the US, for example, who carry out this terrorist acts that killed a lot of people. The FBI investigators have also found out that he has been having marital challenges. And when I listened to the younger brother trying to give his own account of what happened, they told the neighbors were surprised because he has been living quiet and peaceful life. He belongs to the right form of Islam. Yes, it's very quiet and very nice. But he was an army veteran. He was in the United States Army, and I guess, but from the look of things, his problem started immediately after his divorce. He had two wives, which he had divorced. And the crisis in his life began after he had divorced his wife. So that's why throughout this month we want to look at the effect of wrong marriage. The effect of marrying the wrong person. It's terrible. The worst thing that can happen to an individual is to get married to the wrong person. It doesn't matter whether you are a Christian, you are a Muslim, you are a Buddha, you are anything. When you marry the wrong person, you have cut short your life. In fact, if you want to understand what hell is, before you get into hell yourself, is staying and marrying the wrong spouse. If you want to take a taste of hell, is getting married to the wrong person. Marriage as an institution itself is good. It's God that said it's not good for man to live alone. But we saw that immediately after that marriage was constituted by God, we began to see crisis. And so the crisis in marriage did not start now. The problem the world is facing today, if we look at it from the religious aspect of it, started right from when he gave a wife to Adam. I don't know how long Adam was on earth before he got married. There was no report of any kind of problem, attack, crisis. Man was living in peace. Satan was living on his own. Everybody was minding their business. So there was peace on earth until Adam got married. And so the crisis in this world began from marriage. Like I said, there was peace, complete peace. Adam was living in peace. Adam was very happy with himself. Things was moving out well. And immediately he got married. That was where crisis began from. In fact, it was the wife he got married to that introduced him to eating the fruits, to disobeying God in the garden. I don't believe Adam will have disobeyed God. I don't believe Adam will have eaten the forbidden fruit, for example, if not because of his wife. The wife ate and gave to him. It's the same problem that the world is facing today, and so we need to begin to, in the course of this discussion, we will begin to see how we can work it out to live a peaceful life, how you can, the strategies that you need to adopt for you to have a successful life. Because the first thing I want you to understand is that you can't live long on earth if you marry the wrong person. One of the easiest way to die on time is to get married to the wrong person. For example, the case of Jabal. Jabal, the guy that carried out the suicide attack in Louisiana, right there in New Orleans, he was living a normal life until he got married. His crisis began when he got married. He went through two separate divorces. He was thinking that his life would have been better if he divorced the first wife. So he divorced. But unfortunately for him, the same thing repeated himself. The same thing repeated himself. So we want to look at marriage. Marriage. I want to look at the foundation of it. The steps that you need to take. Because if you make the mistake of marrying the wrong person, you are going to live with crisis all through your life. I remember there was something I said some time ago. I said, if Satan has the privilege, if Satan has the opportunity to get you connected to the wrong woman or to the wrong man, then you know for sure that he has removed his hand from your case. Satan does not need to trouble you anymore if he gives you the wrong spouse, because you know you have a handful. You have a handful already. And I told you again that one of the strategies that Satan has adopted to see how he can reduce the lifespan of people is to see that they get married to the wrong people. As long as they get married to the wrong persons, they will never live long. Because you need to be happy to live long. And when you are living a life that you are not happy every day, then there's crisis. But we've also seen that divorcing your wife and getting married to somebody else does not guarantee. Welcome back. And just like I said before we went off, because of the network issue, we are talking about relationship. I remember what I said, that it's something that has been, if you get your relationship right, you discover that you will even be right with God. But when you get a relationship wrong, it's impossible for you also to be right with God. It has a way of affecting your relationship also with God. So that's why it's so important that, hello, you're welcome. Thank you for getting in touch with us from France. And so we see that all over the world is the same crisis. I told you that throughout this month we are going to look at relationship. It's so important because it's something that cannot be ignored. It's something that cannot be ignored. Once you are unfortunate to find yourself in the wrong form of relationship, that you don't need an attack from the devil already again, because the devil has said to you already. And I also told you again that I was going to check what happened to Jabal, the Islamic fundamentalist, who happens to be a military veteran. He served in the United States Army. He has won a lot of awards. But his crisis in life started. Immediately he began to have crisis in his marriage, and there was divorce. He went through two separate divorces. The FBI reporter just came out yesterday and said he went through two separate divorces. In fact, that was where the problem in his life started. Completely started. And that's what devastated him and the rest, and he continues until he finds himself being indoctrinated by ISIS. And he ended up killing 14 people on New Year's Day and injuring 35. You see that the foundation of it all began from wrong relationship. And it's a very sad situation. Very, very sad situation. There are people who get it right the first time. There are people who get it right the second time. There are people who get it right the third time. But I found out that one out of every 10 relationship, 9 in the US end up in crisis. So the first thing we want to start with while we are dealing with these issues, because a youth program, we want to give advice to our youths and the rest on how to live a productive life, a useful life, is to get it right from the beginning. And to see how you can always manage the situation. And if it gets to a situation where you know that you cannot manage, the next steps that you have to take. Because remember what I said from the beginning, all through this month, we'll go through different forms of relationship. And I said your relationship with man determines also your kind of relationship you have with God. We are looking at marriage relationship with men, relationship with business partners, relationship with your neighbors, various kinds of relationship. Because if we don't learn to manage it, it will end up becoming a crisis, a serious crisis. And remember I said, when the devil settles you with the wrong form of relationship, it doesn't need to bother you again, because he knows that you have a handful already. I remember I also said, a good kind of relationship is not something that is gotten from the church or from the mosque. It's an individual thing. And it's so narrowed now that, like I said, out of every 10 relationships, it's only one that seems to be working. 9 is not working. 9 is just on management, just manage. You see, many people you see on the street are just managing, not because it's working. They are just managing. And this management will continue regularly because one is the nature of the environment, the nature of the upbringing, and basically because of the environment. What people will say has made some people to endure some relationship, and at the end of the day they lose out. And so please, from there, like I said, it's something that will be on for the next 30 days. But we want to start first from the very beginning. From the very, very beginning of relationship. What do you want to derive from relationship? What is the motive? Because before you enter into any relationship, you must understand the motive. Even relationship with God, what is the motive? Are you going into a relationship with God because you love Him, or because of what you can get from Him? What you have set up to achieve? And sadly enough, because of the kind of mindset we have in our relationship with men, we now see that we also have the same mindset and motive in our relationship with God. People enter into relationship because of what they want to benefit. They enter into business relationship not because of what they want to add, but because of what they want to benefit from that relationship. And some people enter into relationship not because they have something they feel they want to bring into the table in the relationship, but because they've set up their mind on what they want to benefit from that relationship. So we want to start first by saying, what is your motive? What is the motive of that relationship? The relationship between the governor, the president, political leaders, and their followers. The relationship between the pastor and the congregation. What is the motive? We're talking about various forms of relationship now. Now, what is the motive of the relationship between the elected official, and the citizens? Because if the motive is not gotten right, then we are going to have issues. And the problem we are having is the motive. The motive part of it is what we want to start today. We always have wrong motive. The man that is elected president, his motive is to go and steal. He's going to steal. It's not because he wants to add value to the life of the people. It's because of what he wants to benefit. How he will have access to the national treasury to steal from the treasury. The man that is elected as governor, for example, or as a senator, for example, what is his motive? So what is your motive in that relationship between your state and the citizen of the states? Because if the motive is wrong, whatever you build on it, it's going to be faulty. There's a common saying that if the foundation is wrong, the building, the structure will collapse. Once the foundation is faulty, the building will collapse. So what is the foundation of your relationship? What is the foundation of the relationship between the pastor and the congregation? Between the imam and the congregation? What is the motive? So search, before you go into any relationship, try to search your motive. Because every other thing you are going to build on is going to be determined by your motive. Like I said, we have various aspects we are going to look in for the next 1 month from now to the end of January. Various aspects, the things we need to do, the things, our responsibility in every motive, in every relationship. Because every relationship comes with responsibility. Like they say in science, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And so for every relationship, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So what is your motive, like I said? Now, if the motive of the pastor is to be able to milk the congregation, to manipulate them, to lie to them, so that he can be able to benefit from them financially, definitely the relationship is not going to last long. Because the relationship that is based on deceit, that everything the pastor wants to preach on the altar is determined by his motive. I've seen many people whose motive is to make money. And so they try as much as possible to milk the congregation to achieve that. Now, if the motive of the imam is to use the people for his own benefit, everything the imam is going to preach or teach is going to be in line with his motive. It's going to be in line with his motive. Because that is exactly the agenda that he has. So your representative, your senator representing your area, the senator representing the House of Representative member representing that area, what is his motive? When he's running for senator, when he's running for senate, or when he wants to become a member of the House of Representative, what was his motive? Did he look at the people and say, no, I want to go into Senate because I want to see that I give my people equal representative. I want to bring the dividends of good governance to my people. Is that the motive? So you that say you are a prophet, you prophesy, you begin to give all kinds of word of knowledge. What is your motive? Because if your motive is wrong, your prophecy is all about how to milk the people, how to collect money from them. You begin to give prophecy that ends up in collecting money. So motive is crucial in every relationship. You that is getting married, what is your motive of marrying the man? What is your motive of marrying the woman? What is the motive between the husband and the wife of entering that relationship? What is their motive? Because if the motive is wrong, you're just about managing, and you find out that you're wasting your time. And we are living in an environment where you are tied. America is a little bit, it's not a big deal in the US, but in a place like Nigeria, especially when you are in the church setting, you find out that divorce is a big deal. So you find yourself that you are in self-detained prison in the name of marriage. Look at the musician the other time that was killed. The beating and the rest have been on for a very long time, but she was managing it because religion has put her in prison. Religion have indoctrinated her and make her believe that if you walk out of an abusive relationship, then it has offended God. Like I said, we are going to look into different areas. We are going to come into that to discuss it. Must you continue to remain in a relationship that seems not to be working? Are you tied down to that place? When you discover that you put in all your effort to make it work and it's not working, do you continue to remain there? Do you continue to remain there? And we'll begin to look at it. Is it a sin or is it a crime? Especially this is now within the Christian community now. Is it a crime for a man to have more than one wife? Is the relationship we are looking at now in different areas? Is it a taboo? Is it a sin? Is it a crime? We want to educate. We want to look into all these issues holistically with the right motive. Is it a crime? I mean, we look at Jacob, for example. Jacob had 4 wives. And funny enough, these are the 4 people that formed the 4 tribes of Israel. God didn't reject any of those tribes. So we want to look at what is God's perfect will. Is it a crime? Is it a sin? So these are the areas that we want to look at for the next 1 month, because we want people to be truly liberated. What does the Bible say regarding this issue? What does the Bible say regarding a man getting married to more than one wife? Is it a sentence, a sin? And so we'll look at it from the Bible and look at it from people, because I also remembered that God told David, you have wife already. If you wanted more, why didn't you ask me? So is God now saying that you will have asked me, I will have given you more evil? So we want to look at it from both sides. But today we want to focus a lot on today. I want to focus today on building up the right relationship with the right motive. You must have a personal conviction and your motive. The motive of every genuine relationship must be centered on love and what to give. Must be centered on making sacrifice on what to give. Because today we are looking at motive. Because if you start the relationship with what to take from the person, then you're already starting on a faulty note. On a faulty note. You've already started on a deceptive note. What is the relationship you have entered? The relationship you are now, you're about to get married to. Ask yourself, what is the motive? What do I really want from this relationship? This man that I want to get married to, this woman that I want to get married to, why do I want to do it? Is it that I'm getting of age, I just need to settle down? Is it that the man has money? Is it that the lady is handsome? The lady is beautiful? Are you settling down on that relationship basically because she's pretty, is handsome, he has money? What is your motive? Now, that is what I'm going to leave with you today as we begin to look into it, because in the evening again we'll continue. But today we are looking at motive. I want to say this because of the people we are selling to. The crisis in the world today, the biggest crisis in the world today is wrong relationship. It's terrible all over the world. I have a friend of mine that came from UK some time ago, and he told me that he was discussing with a young lady, a 20-year-old lady, and this young girl told him that he is not going to get married, that she is not going to get married. And so he said he was surprised and asked why. He said no. After he has seen the relationship between his father and his mother, he made up his mind. She made up her mind that she will never get married. So that's what I'm saying. So now we have an increase in gay and lesbianism today because of the failure of the God-ordained marriage. Complete failure. And the failure of those relationships is beginning to have effect in the relationship between man and God. Between man and God. Because in the first place, when Paul was trying to describe the relationship between a man and a woman, he used the church relationship between Jesus and the church as an example. And so we have so much unfaithfulness in marriage today, so much unfaithfulness in the relationship of marriage today, because the motive from the beginning is faulty. And because probably the man does not know his place, neither does the woman know her place. So there seems to be conflict of interest. People don't know their responsibility. Like a nation, for example, is governed by laws and constitution. Every nation is governed by law. I mean, let me not say every nation, every reasonable nation. Every nation that wants to live in peace, is governed by laws. There are responsibilities that the citizens owe to the nation, and there are responsibilities that the leaders of the nation owe to the citizens. So if the citizens want to live in peace with the leaders, there must be a kind of how do I put it now? There must be a kind of check and balance. Because even in the relationship between God and man, there are rules and regulations. There are things that God is expected to do. There are things that man is expected to do. So by the time you go through the Bible will be able to tell you the responsibility of God and also tell you your own responsibility. Because there are two responsibilities. Responsibilities that come from God. That I'm talking about relationship between God and man now. There are responsibilities. For example, in the garden there was responsibilities. God was supposed to do this, man is supposed to do that, and man failed in the first responsibility. And I told you right now, I said Adam was living in peace, perfect peace, until he got married. The crisis the world is facing today now is a crisis that came from the failure of the relationship of Abraham. The failure of the relationship of Abraham is what has led the world to the crisis that the world is in today now, especially the crisis between the Jews, and the Arabs. I mean, we keep hearing of what is happening in Gaza, what is happening in Lebanon, Syria, all this area. Now, these are Arabs. On the other hand, we look at what is happening in Israel and the rest. And these are the Arabs and the Jews. They happen to be from the same father. The Arab and the Jews, they came out from the same father. They have the same ancestry in their father's side. They are all descendants of Abraham. The Christians, Judaism, and Islam, they all claim Abraham as their father. The three main religions in the world, they claim Abraham as their father. In fact, that Jerusalem right now is now claimed by the three main religions themselves as the headquarters of their Christianity. Both the Christians, the Judaism, and Islam, they are all fighting over Jerusalem. They are all descendants of Abraham. But the failure of the marriage of Abraham is what has led the world to the crisis that the world is going through right now. So one's inability to get it right and to maintain it is not just to get it right. You can get it right at the beginning, but if it is not well maintained, it will end up in crisis. It's a common saying that there's a way that seems right, but the end of it, everybody seems to be right in his own field. Everybody claims to be right. But if there's no standard structure through which you can decide for yourself whether you are right or not, there's going to be confusion. And that's why I said they all claim Abraham as their father. And so the crisis we are facing, the war in Gaza, the war between the Palestinians and the Jews, the war between the Jews and the Arabs that is affecting the whole world today has its foundation in the failure of the relationship between Adam and his family. Sorry, one, Adam and his family. Number two, Abraham and his family. If Abraham had gotten it right, we are not going to have the problem we are facing today. Because they have the same father but different mother. So that's why I said the motive. Now, if you look at the motive of Abraham, what was his motive in having sexual relationship with his house help? The motive was not just to have children. The motive was because of the pressure from the wife. The pressure from Sarah is what made Abraham to sleep with Hagar. The pressure from Abraham. Sorry, the pressure from Sarah. Now, what made Adam to eat the apple? The pressure from Eve. The pressure from Eve. So that's why I said, if one is not able to understand the motive and be able to stand by the truth at all times, you are bound to have a collapsed relationship. And the relationship will collapse. It will have negative effect also on people, especially if it's a marriage situation where they have kids everywhere. It has a way of having terrible effects. Terrible effect. I remember many years ago, I have somebody who when I was entering school, that was when he was leaving. He left school at 87, and we happened to meet again in Lagos in Festac some years ago, many years ago. I think around 94. That was when I met him in Festac. I remember he said something. He said, "If you want to live in peace, ensure that you check the man you are getting married to, the woman you are getting married to, check the family each of them are coming from. It's a family that grew up in peace, you are bound to live in peace. If it's a family that does not grow up in peace, you are going to have issues, because these things have been, how do I put it now? This is what they grew up with. They see it as a way of life. They see crisis as a way of life. They believe that there ought to be crisis. Each time there's no crisis, there's a problem. So wrong motive will always lead to crisis at the long run. Wrong motive in starting a relationship will definitely live in crisis. Now we are saying all these things now, especially for the young ones. I've received a lot of calls, and people have called to ask me a lot of questions here and there. I have somebody who I'm very close to, just graduated too. He has asked so many questions, to the extent that he's even getting worried and scared about getting married, about the marriage relationship. Each time I want to answer, I keep saying, if you want to have problem on something that you like. If I should put it that way. So which means the motive must be that it's an unconditional love. Not love that is attached to something. I like the shape. He has money. If that is the purpose. If you enter into the relationship and at the end of the day something happened, because we are living in a volatile world. We have seen the rich become poor, we have seen the poor become rich. If you enter into that relationship and at the end of the day you find out that the person becomes broke, what happens? Oh, so pretty. You enter into the relationship and something happened that affects the shape, that pretty shape, what happens? So the motive must be something that is unconditional. There shouldn't be any motive. There shouldn't be any condition attached to the motive. if you want to go into the marriage relationship, it must be an unconditional motive. Now, what prompted me to decide to say, let us treat this issue for the next 1 month? It's when I looked at what is happening. I was watching some program in the US the other day, some wonderful programs, programs like Coming to America, for example, Eddie Murphy, programs like Jefferson's, different programs, and they were given. We are talking about the cast. I'm a movie producer. They are talking about the cast of the movies, the cast in those movies. Some of them about 30, 40 casts that acted in those movies. And when they were talking about them, I discovered that apart from the ones that are now, very few of them are alive, most of them are dead. There are some of them that the entire cast, we're talking like Good Times. I don't think any of the cast in Good Times is still alive. Good Times, the Jeffersons, Sanford and Sons. These were wonderful programs that delighted TV viewers in the 80s, in the 90s. Because, for example, Good Times was on air between 74 to 79. I know I watched Good Times around 82. I watched it around 80. It was very popular those days, around 80. That was the period where all our movies were gotten from America, from Europe. We didn't have any, Nigerians were not yet producing movies. So all our movies and all our sitcoms were all gotten from abroad. Now, I discovered that in all of the movies, all of the sitcoms, there's no single exemption. All of them. All of the sitcoms, all of them. It's terrible. The list that some of them get married to is about 2 or 3. Some of them have had up to 6 divorces. 2 divorces. In fact, there's not even one person that ended his life marrying just one wife. They were all involved, one divorce to the other, one divorce to the other. I was wondering, I said, what is this? All of them. So you begin to see the attack on marriages. We keep talking about the attack on marriages, but how will this attack come when the motive ab initio was wrong? I mean, there's a common saying that whoever breaketh the edge, the serpent will bite. So what edge have we broken in relationship? Especially we are singling out the marriage relationship today before we move into other relationship. What edge have they broken? The spouse, the man, the woman, what edge have they broken that they find themselves in this kind of relationship? All of them. Even Eddie Murphy is still alive. He's over 60 now. He's still alive, but Eddie Murphy should be in his 2nd or 3rd marriage. Don't marry. You hardly go to America today and you find less than 10% of the marriage people that are still in the same marriage. Less than 10%. It's a regular practice in the US, in Europe, in Western world, because they seem not to have they are not the same environment in Africa, and their pressure level is low. The Africans have the tendency, they have the capacity. The Africans have the strength to manage bad relationship, but the white man does not have that strength. The white man collapses under pressure, and so the white man sees that the best way out of this pressure is to move out of the relationship. But the African man will continue to deceive himself and to pretend as if things are working when nothing is working. And nothing is working. And so you find out that in that marriage relationship, let's take Nigeria as a case study. I've done research. I found out that if we want to even start from the church, the pastor, the other day I was reading about 3 years ago or so, I was reading a research that was carried out as at March, April of that year, from January, February, March, April of that same year, they've discovered that they have over 40 divorce cases in courts in Abuja. We are not in that. I told you that America, the white man has the strength and the capacity. The white man will not want to deceive himself. When nothing is working, he walks away. And so we have a situation where the least, let's just say 10%. And this is what is happening right now, that is giving crisis all over the world. Children from broken home and broken relationship. And I told you that the casting Good Times, the casting Jeffersons, the casting Coming to America, all the cast, all of them, some of them are in the third and in the fourth marriage. And I said, what is the foundation of it? Something must have given rise to it. And what is that? The motive. The motive is faulty. And once the motive is faulty, your expectations is defeated. When you have a faulty motive, then you have an unrealistic expectation. An unrealistic expectation. And sadly enough, the African man is highly religious. Religion has also made it possible for the man to remain in the relationship that is not working. I mean, you have a very short time to live on earth. And if you discover that some people, let's say they get married for 40 years. I was watching a court case, a divorce case in America a few days ago. The woman was from Haiti, the man was an American. They were in court over some one or two issues. And so the judge was asking them, I think they beat traffic lights and the rest. I know the way it is, they'll take you to traffic courts, then they will fine you and you will pay. So they went to the court and they asked him. So the judge was asking them both. He said before he sentenced them, who drove the car? He says the husband that drove the car. The man should be about 70 years. No, it's about 74 years or 75 years. And the woman should be in her 60s. And so the judge asked, who drove the car? Says the man. Okay. Talking and they said, the judge said, how long have you been married? The man said, 42 years. What? He said, but he has only been happily married for 2 years. So I don't understand what you are saying. So he has been married for 42 years, but he has only been happy for 2 years out of the 42 years. Now such things can only be heard, explained, and tolerated among the black couples. Because I said, some black people have perfected the art of remaining in deception and deceiving themselves when they know that this thing is faulty. So they've been married for 42 years, but he has lived happily in the marriage for 2 years. So like I said, it's going to be a long program we are talking about throughout the month of January. All kinds of relationship between siblings, between friends, between parents, between children, mother and child, between the parents and their children. We are looking at all forms of relationship, but we want to start first by looking at the motive, because definitely once the motive is faulty, we are bound to get a faulty result. And so what is the motive? You are getting married to her because she's a celebrity. You are getting married to him because he is a celebrity. And when we are looking at Nigeria, for example, 85% of the marriage of celebrities in Nigeria is broken because they've not been able to differentiate between reality and acting. Acting, what is supposed to be and what it is. They are two different things. They've not been able to find a common ground. They've not been able to separate between what the marriage is supposed to be and what the marriage is. They are two separate things. As we find out that the marriages of celebrity in Nigeria is beginning to crumble. The more educated and the more enlightened people have become, the more the marriage does not last. the more they find out that some of the things they've been hearing, or some of the things that have been going on from their parents and the rest is not realistic, it's not the truth. And they begin to drop it one after the other. And so you see that those who are well exposed, who are exposed in terms of academics, in terms of celebrity, traveling around the world, in terms of encounter with other tribes, they seem to have less form of marriage, because in Africa, our grandparents were taught that it's a taboo. It was seen, let me just use that word, it was seen as a taboo. So you just have to remain in it and endure. And endure. So we have a situation where people are not enjoying it, they are enduring it. And the other day there was a program that was held, and the man of God who was handling the program in a very big church in Lagos said there are about 300 people that were in attendance, pastors, 300 pastors. And he said if you've had a relationship outside your home from January to March, I think the program was held in April or so, from January to April, please stand up. Out of the 300, 270 pastors stood up. Because those who can no more bear the pressure from the home are ventilating it outside through the world system of having a side chick, side relationship, side man. So some marriages in Nigeria are still existing today because they have taken the option of having a side relationship. I mean, there was a time that the pastor in Redeem, one plane crash they had where a pastor in Redeem has died and the rest, and when they find out, they discover that they have children outside. Because they look for a way to vent out the frustration by having outside relationship. We are going to look into that much later in the program. But I'm saying some of these things so that before you as a young man go into that relationship, you must understand what you are going to. It might be shocking you today, but will it continue to shock you in 10 years' time? Will it continue to shock you in 20 years' time? We've seen relationships where couples got divorced after 30 years. You begin to wonder, what is happening? After 30 years of marriage, and they will tell you that it has been 30 years of managing, of enduring. I think I can't continue to pretend anymore. It is better late than never. And never. So please, I want you to subscribe to this BHF channel, this very YouTube channel. Subscribe to it, and also press the notification button, and also like, share, and get others to be part of it, because throughout this month we want to be looking at relationships, and we have various kind of relationships we want to look into. Like I told you, relationship with God, relationship with man, relationship with husband, relationship with wife, relationship with children and parents, relationship with your co-worker, relationship with your boss. What is the relationship you have with your boss? Relationship with your pastor and yourself. What kind of relationship do you have with your pastor and yourself? What relationship do you have with your neighbors, with your driver, with your cook, with your domestic staff? So we are looking at various forms of relationship. So I want you to please subscribe to this YouTube channel, so that each time we come on air, you'll be able to be part of what we are discussing. And if you have questions to ask, you will ask. So I remember some years ago, I was a guest at Sunshine Radio for over 30 minutes on this issue of marriage. I was a guest on the radio, and the phone calls were so much that the organizers of the program had to give them my number personally so that they can call me after the program. And for over 1 month after the program, I was still receiving calls. That begins to tell you that a lot of the marriages in Lagos are not working. Very few marriages in Lagos are working. Very few. The rest are just managing it. That's why the high rate of divorce all over the world. All over the world. Divorce everywhere. Of recent, I saw a lady that won the Guinness Book of Record award for the fastest divorce. They got married in the morning around 10 o'clock, and she was divorced in the evening around 4 o'clock. So I looked as if the guests have not even finished leaving the house or the venue of the wedding before she divorced. She's holding. It's a Ghanaian. They are both Ghanaians. They are holding the Guinness Book of Record, Guinness Book award of the fastest divorce. Got married around 9-10 in the morning. Got divorced around 4-5 in the evening. The fastest divorce in the world. The fastest divorce in the world. It's pathetic. It's sad. And these things will begin to have effect on our children. So we're going to build on it. Like I said, hook up to this very YouTube channel. Please subscribe to YouTube channel as we begin to look into relationship throughout this year. Like, share, subscribe, and also comment. Drop your comments, your questions as we begin to look. Much later, I will tell you some of the things you need to look into before you get married to anybody. Before you make that commitment to that relationship. The things you need to look into, the steps you need to take. Don't just be in a hurry to make any commitment, because you never can tell what tomorrow will be. You never can tell what tomorrow will be. Tomorrow might have something in stock that is different. The person you see today might be different from the person you will become tomorrow. So before you get into any kind of relationship, you must make sure that you have a lot of questions. Ask questions. Somebody once said that if love is blind, you should not be deaf. There's a common saying that love is blind. And if love is blind, then love should not be deaf. For a relationship that you hope to stay in for a lifetime, it's not something that you go into without asking questions. It is better you spend 10 years in investigating, and spend your life, your remaining part of your life at peace, than to get married within a twinkle of an hour and get divorced within a twinkle of an hour. The rate of divorce is high, and that's what I'm trying to tell you right now. The reason why they have so much divorce. Like I said, we are coming to the end of this section. So in the evening again, we are going to be on in the evening around 8 o'clock, where we begin to look into this issue of divorce again. In the evening, we come again in the evening. So please, I want you to subscribe so that in the evening, subscribe, and also press the notification button so that when we come again in the evening, you'll be able to you to have an idea of some of the things we are going to look at and how we are going to handle them. Like I said, press the notification button, subscribe to this program so that at the end of the day, when we come out again in the evening, you are going to have it. You are going to have a clear understanding of what you need to do, especially for the young people. And remember I said today, we are talking about motive. In the evening, we are looking at other issues. We are looking at motive all across the world. All across the world. There's no nation that is exempted. There's crisis all over the world. There's crisis. You have a lot of people right now who have vowed that they will never get married because of the crisis they are seeing across the nations of the earth. There are people who have died before their time because of bad relationship. There are people who have their potentials are completely downgraded because they are unfortunate to find themselves in a wrong relationship. And those things have their root in motive. And that's what I want to round up with today, motive. Motive. What is your motive? Thank you for those who are joining us from the US, from Canada, from different parts of the world. Welcome to this channel. We are going to deal on motive, and please ensure that it's the right motive. Because the person you know today might not be the person you know tomorrow. So you must make sure that it's the right person. There's nobody that is perfect. But there are some things that we'll look into in the evening that the person must have before you proceed in that form of relationship. Since nobody is perfect, then there are some things that somebody must have in him that you know that this person has. Because there's no perfect person except God. But in as much as you don't have perfect person, there must be something that the person displays. That's what we are looking at in the evening when we continue. That when it displays this thing regularly, you can be able to say, yes, this is the right kind of person. So you don't spend the rest of your life regretting marriage. That you don't end up losing your purpose on earth because you want to get married. Especially here in Africa, where it takes a lot of boldness for you to say you want to take on divorce. Many people in America it's very easy, in Europe it's easy, but in Nigeria it takes a lot. And then we are going to look at again subsequently in this program whether it is a crime, is a sin, is a crime against God. We look at in science, it's examples. You want to solve any problem, it's examples that we are going to look. So until we meet again in the evening, same time in the evening, please, I want you to know that marriage is not a death sentence. And there's also a provision in the same, that's for Christians now, there's also a provision in the same Bible that instead of you to kill yourself, you are free to take an exit. Okay.